We started our first kind of official jobs last year in April, so we're a little over a year now. We did probably about a dozen jobs in 2024. Now we've kind of got an even flow of about 10 to 12 jobs going at a time. And we've kind of dialed in, I think, enough data here to have a pretty good feel for what the track record kind of is and should probably continue to look like. So average job size to date about $48,000. Average work duration just about 3 weeks. That was really shocking to me really both of those. When we started the business, I kind of thought our average job size might be 20,000. And timing, I've been really pleased with what we've been able to do in terms of timing. We'll get into more detailed process here in the next slide, but so per Joe's case studies as well, generally about like what we put in, we're able to kind of net doubling that amount in the price of the home. So if we put in about $50,000, the home ends up selling for about $100,000 more. So that pays us that $50,000, and the homeowner makes about another $50,000, which is this 2x that we really try to target as we think through what's going to make sense to propose to do in terms of improvements to the home.
Hey, Dave,
we've
got a question from Heidi.
Yeah.
Do sellers stay in the house while you are doing renovations? And does it cost to get an estimate on a future listing? It's two questions. First, do sellers stay in the house while you're doing renovations?
So let me know if I think I understand. I'm going to go backwards on those two questions. I think I understand the cost question but let me know if I don't. Just follow up with to make sure I'm answering your question. When you first call us and we give you a preliminary estimate, there's no cost to that. When we then move forward and do a final estimate, that often involves actually bringing out the subs and getting hard numbers. We charge $250 to do the final estimate, just to kind of cover our costs. Almost 100% of the final estimates that we do go to become a job, and that $250 will get credited towards your job. But that's just so that if we don't end up getting the job and we brought out all our subs and we've kind of exercised all that, that's the only cost involved in terms of getting an estimate. One of the requirements for qualifying for our jobs is you do have to be out of the home, which is here on this slide. So like Joe said, we've had instances where we will, as long as the equity is there in the home, and we'll get into kind of how we look at it. We're happy to help out in terms of, putting somebody in Airbnb. We just had a job this week where we've, paid for somebody for a month of kind of, housing, lodging costs, as well as including in our job, like boxing up a bunch of stuff and getting into storage. But we really need the house to be, cleared out and unoccupied to be able to put the best foot forward for these jobs. Okay, so
sorry, one more comment.
Yep.
We just a comment from Wileen. She said in the chat, I saw a job you did in Mapleton. I walked through before and just went to the open house last Saturday, and you guys did an amazing job.
Oh, thank you. Was that the one with the blue island? Just so you know,
Yeah,
we did not select those colors. But thank you.
One other question from John.
I saw your
I'm so
question.
glad to hear that. I've been fretting about that one. She said, "Love the blue island and backsplash." That I've always been worried a little bit about that one. So I'm so glad to hear that.
John, we're not in St. George. We're right now. Our geography is essentially Utah County and Salt Lake County. We go down as far south as about Nephi, and the furthest north we've gone is like Layton, Farmington. But
not yet. That's right.
Yeah, no, I mean, exactly. I mean, I think the beauty of this business is, we'll continue to partner with great subs and contractors, and the plan is to grow. Okay, I'll hit this slide. So minimum job size. So our requirements, in order for this to just make sense for us, minimum job size is about $20,000. if you have questions and you're not sure, just give us a call and we can easily, kind of gauge the work requirement to be done there, and whether it makes sense. The other requirement, kind of baseline requirement that we have, is that the owner has to have sufficient equity to protect our position in terms of the funds that we're putting in to do the work. So the way we look at that, kind of rough rule of thumb, is our cost of repairs plus closing costs times 2 on an as repaired basis. So that's just kind of, we do our opinion of as is value and our opinion of what we think this home's gonna be worth once we do the work. And as long as we feel comfortable that once the work is done, there's kind of 2 times that formula of covering us, we're comfortable proceeding to do the job. We talked about occupants have to be out of the home. I'll move to the next slide on this 6-month requirement, but essentially, we get paid at closing, and we give 6 months in our contract from the time the work is complete for the home to sell. And if it doesn't, then we just need to make sure that we're able to get paid. We haven't had any issue on that yet. I'll come to this next one that kind of gets to our protection. So we do put a lien on the homes to protect our position on doing the work. The agreement that we sign via DocuSign is a remodeling and loan agreement. We don't call it a loan agreement in the sense that it's a traditional loan. We're not collecting interest or anything like that on the loan. We just build, we just kind of build all of our cost of capital premium into the line items on the bid. So it's a simple general contractor, scope that gets priced. And then we coordinate payoff through escrow with that lien on the home. That's really it. We try, obviously it's important for us and you to just do a good job of screening clients so that we don't get into any issues. And so far we haven't had any issues in terms of needing to exercise those lien rights. So this is kind of walking through the process of how it works. From the time we get kind of a first call to getting to contract can typically happen within about a week. We try to turn around a preliminary estimate in a couple of days. That consists of going out to the property. We'll take video walking through the property and that'll be with you, the agent, and the homeowner if they want to be there, and we can kind of talk through your ideas of what you think needs to get done. We'll take that back and put together that preliminary estimate of what we would propose being considered for the work. And then when we get the go ahead to move forward, as we discussed before, we'll come back and do that final estimate where we get hard numbers, so that when that final estimate gets approved, that's an electronic approval, that will become the scope of work that becomes an exhibit to the DocuSign document that gets executed for the contract. And then once that happens, again, kind of average duration of about 3 weeks on the job. Smaller jobs we can often get done in as little as like 5 to 7 days. The example that Joe gave in Draper, where it was, kind of going to be a flipper situation and really a to the studs full renovation, we've had kind of 2 projects along those lines that have been in the range of like 6 to 8 weeks as our larger projects. But 3 weeks is I'd say the under the bulk of the bell curve. And then it goes on the market, which has been amazing. Actually, it really is shorter and smoother. I mean, we've had a number of jobs that have sold before it went on the market, just from like our sign being out front of like make it market ready, doing the work, and people coming and seeing the work that's getting done. And had a couple of situations like that with multiple offers. The other thing in terms of smoother, I would say, we try to work in, we advise getting a pre-listing inspection on the house, so that we can kind of turn over those stones and see if anything's going to come up, like in a buyer inspection. We can often address that while we're out there, efficiently and get that done so that when the home goes on the market, there aren't those surprises, there aren't concessions, and there aren't slowdowns in the process.